Here is my game running. The enemies spawn from the left and they naturally steer their way towards the castle. If something is in front of them, like an obstacle, they can detect it and just slide around them instead of getting stuck. The user can place towers in one of the slots here, and once the enemy gets close enough to it, it recognizes the tower and switches its current state into attacking state. You will see it doing a little up and down animation while damaging the tower. At the same time, the tower is also hitting the enemy, and once the enemy health run out, it gets destroyed. This script contains the full behavior for my enemy AI. Now looking at the variables. At the top, I define the main movement settings. Move speed control, how fast the enemy moves towards the castle, and health is how much damage it can take. The obstacle settings, which are detect radius, detect distance, and avoidance force, are used later to let the enemy detect obstacles and steer around them. Next, I define the tower attack settings. Enemy attack range is how close the tower needs to be before the enemy notices it. Attack interval controls how often the enemy deals damages, and attack damage is the amount dealt at each cycle. The tower layer mask ensures the enemy only detects the real towers. After that, I have some reference and few internal variables. I store the castle position and the obstacle layer so enemy knows where to move towards and what to avoid. Then I created a set of variables to show some internal enemy details like which tower it is attacking, whether it is currently attacking, a timer for attack damage, and the last position before attack animation. I also store the rigid body for movement and two small variables used during obstacle avoidance to check if the enemy is currently avoiding and what direction it should steer. Finally, I have an event that notifies other systems whether the enemy is removed. Now we have completed with all our variables. Now let's start with the stat function. The enemy gets its rigid body 2D, and if the castle reference hasn't been assigned, it automatically finds the castle using its tag. Now moving on to the main AI loop or the main function we have used in the script. Inside fixed update, the enemy's main behavior is to move towards the castle. So every frame I calculate a direction vector pointing from the enemy to the castle and normalize it to keep the speed consistent. While moving, the enemy consistently checks for tower using an overlap circle with its attack range. If the tower is detected, the enemy enters the tower attack state, it stops moving and saves its current positions for a small attack animation. In the attack state, the enemy plays a simple bobbing animation, which is an up and down animation, and uses a timer to apply damage to the tower at regular intervals. If the tower is destroyed, the enemy exits at the attack mode and continues moving towards the castle. When the enemy is not attacking, it continues towards the castle, but before moving forward, it checks for obstacles using its CircleCast. If something is detected, I calculate a perpendicular avoidance direction so the enemy can steer around the obstacle smoothly. This avoidance continues until the path ahead is clear. The final movement direction is a mix of castle direction and avoidance direction. The rigid body then moves the enemy using this blended steering vector to create smooth natural motion. If the enemy reaches the castle trigger, it calls the castle damage function, fires the enemy removed event, and destroys itself. The enemy also has take damage function, and if its health reaches 0, the kill function removes it, increases the score to the user, and triggers the removal event. In summary, this script handles the movement, obstacle avoidance, tower detection and attacking, castle collision, damage handling, and the full enemy life cycle. This is the complete AI system that I individually developed for our group project. That's it. Thank you.